All right, welcome back. Okay, so we want to talk today about the marketing mix. We will discuss 3 P's that are very important in marketing. Um, and someone says, what really decides consumers to buy or not buy is the content of your advertising and not its form. So the marketing mix is also called the 4 P's of marketing, where we're talking about product, price, place, and promotion. Marketers use these tools to attract and satisfy their customer base, and each element of the marketing mix is linked to each other. And they all need to be carefully integrated and coordinated to be effective. If the marketing mix is handled correctly, it will satisfy the target audience and create support for the brand. All right, so let's talk about the first P, which is product. Your product is what you sell. It can be an object, it can be a service, it can be a program, it can be a course, it can be anything. And the product is created to meet your target audience's needs, which gives the product value to the target audience, to your client. And the product typically runs the course of its usefulness to the client, right? So let's talk about the life cycle of your product. Um, First thing first is introduction. This is where you introduce your product to the market. Then the second level is the growth of the product, where the market accepts the product. The third thing is maturity, where sales begin to slow after the market is flooded. And then the fourth is decline, where the product no longer meets the needs of the target market. It is possible for a product to not follow the traditional life cycle for different reasons. For example, a product might avoid the life cycle if it does not meet the needs of the target market in the first place. And it is also possible to skip some stages of that cycle. And the best way to ensure that the product is still relevant is by monitoring the revenue, the market position, the customer feedback. Any product that is not performing should be removed from the market. You don't want your product to be there. And so some things have to be done, which we'll talk about in later lessons. But let's talk about the second P, which is price. The second part of the marketing mix is price. And the price is what the customers pay, and it affects purchasing. It affects if they're going to buy from you, right? We talked about pricing in the sales objections course. It's usually one of the most common objections, especially if you're offering high quality, high value product or service at premium price, right? So let's talk about pricing. A high price will discourage buying, but a low price might require a cut in product quality. Again, we've talked about this. You don't want to be the one who says, well, I'm going to reduce my price just so that more people can come. And then you get more people, but you cannot deliver the quality of service that they really need because you gave it to them at such a low price that you cannot afford the overhead. So pricing is a little bit complex, but there are two basic pricing methods: value based pricing and cost based pricing. I'm sure you can already guess the one that I favor most. Value based pricing is a method of pricing what your service believes the customer is willing to pay for the product. But that's not just it, it's focused on pricing based on the value and the outcome that your service or product can deliver or promises to deliver to the client, and to make sure that that outcome is actually the client's desired outcome. So, if, for example, you desire to have an increase in sales by an extra 100,000 a year, if I know that my service can get you there and save you 100,000 in loss, I can price my service to you at a percentage of that 100,000 that I know that I can help you achieve. So it's value based. Either I'm basing it on a percentage of what I can help you achieve, or I'm basing it on a percentage of what you could lose if you don't get this service and if you don't get that outcome that you're looking for. So it could get a little, so it's easy, it's simple, but it could get a little complex. We could talk about that later. But value-based pricing is obviously always driven by supply and demand. And when you can create that solid supply and demand relationship, what you're trying to show is that the value of your product compared to your competitors, or the value of your service compared to your competitors, is unique. That you all could be doing the same thing, but there is that value point. There is that unique value that you bring, that your service brings, that others in the market don't. And so that increases your demand, because you want to also make sure that the amount of people that you want to serve can be given the highest quality. And sometimes that requires you reducing the amount of people that you could take. And so when you reduce that, you're reducing supply, and people see the value, but not everybody can get in at the exact same time. And so that drives up the price, because the demand now becomes high for that singular value that you're bringing that your competitors are not. So it's a beautiful dance, and we could talk about that further later. So let's talk about the third P, which is promotion. Any communication about the value and benefits that you have to offer is a promotion. Once you're communicating about value and benefits, you are promoting your service. And people often confuse promotion with marketing. Promotion is only part of marketing. It's not in and of itself a standalone thing that you do to get the word out about your service and the value of your service. It is part of marketing. It is important to balance promotion with the other P's, with the price, with the place, right? There are many different methods of promotion. Advertising is one of them. And this is when you're trying to reach a mass market. Selling is another, because it's a small group, right? I mean, you could be selling to a small group rather, or you could be using one-on-one communication. And then there's publicity. This includes mentions in the press, in the media, online. There's word of mouth. Customers are part of the promotion process too. Customers can be promoting your product for you. They become advocates for you. Word of mouth should not ever be ignored, because many people have gotten their big breaks in business through referrals, through word of mouth. So never, ever, ever look down on word of mouth promotion. It's one of the best. I mean, what's better than somebody else singing the praises of your product so that you don't have to do it? I mean, you still have to do it, by the way, but. And the last P is place. And the place is where a customer will buy and receive your product. Now, things have become so global in terms of how easily we can reach service providers, and we could get services that we really desire. So many times, for a lot of businesses, the virtual digital world is a great place to get your customers, where they will receive your product and buy it. Right? So having the product reach the customer typically involves 20% of the cost, and this affects the price in the marketing matrix. The place will vary according to each business and the needs of the customer. For example, an exclusively online business, a business that's totally digital, will not need a storefront, but it could need a storage facility. When we talk about drop shipping or selling online products and having to, fulfill them. So you might not need a storefront, but you might need a storage facility. You might need a warehouse. So the method of delivery must also be chosen based on customer and business needs. Okay? So we'll go over to just quickly summarize that we've talked about the 4P's of marketing, which are the product, the price, the place, and the promotion. And all of these fall under, they're part of the marketing mix, right? They are not in and of themselves separate from marketing, right? Okay, so let's keep going on. See you in the next course.